Welcome to Let's Write This Movie. I am your screenwriter, René Garcia.
And I am Brian Glass.
This week, we discuss homophones, suffixes, and Brian reads to me.
All while waving handkerchiefs and beckoning men. Let's get started.
Roll the intro. And we are all set. Brian, how was your
Renee.
week?
My week was pretty good, man. I have a 7-year-old son, and he decided that he wanted to write a book. So he wrote this kind of handmade comic book, several pages, I don't know, like 7 or 8 pages, where he wrote it all out, he illustrated it, and I thought I'd just take it kind of up a notch. So I had him come in the studio here and record reading the book out loud. And then I had him record all of the sound effects that would happen in each panel just for fun. He didn't know what I was actually doing. I scanned the whole thing and I put it together as a movie.
Wow.
So yeah. And then I started a channel for my boy, and he's got his first movie up there with, I don't know, like 50 views and, a very small amount of subscribers, but it was pretty cool.
That's great. He's doing better than us.
Well, he doesn't have as many subscribers as us, but he has more views. But
there you go.
But I was thinking, maybe he's not long before he can. Maybe it's not long before he can be a contributing writer on workingauthor.com.
Yeah. Another 10 years or
Yeah.
so.
Or maybe start a kid's corner. He's going to be there for you, man.
Great.
Pulse of the young nation. Just doing a call out to your other one of your other projects.
Workingauthor.com, everybody. That's my bigger site, now more or less defunct, but feel free to check it out.
Still some great reviews. I still enjoy reading it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that actually is a good segue into something I wasn't really going to talk about today, but might as well since we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brian, well, everyone watching, I was discussing with Brian adding another component to our videos on this channel, and I'm just toying with this idea, but what would everyone think about if Brian and I did movie reviews now and again, mainly for the storytelling aspect and not so much anything else?
Right. So something related to this project.
Well, fine. I would be okay with, reviewing topical things. I don't know if topical is the right word. Maybe contemporary. Like the new Venom movie just came out, and it's been getting slammed by a lot of critics, but audiences who have seen it are saying that it's going to be a big hit. So it's always interesting to see that divide, right? Some are speculating that that the negative reviews are a coordinated effort to bolster. Do you know what I'm talking about? To bolster A Star Is Born, the Lady Gaga group,
Right?
Are trying to make sure her movie wins the weekend. I don't know. But I'm always curious to find out for myself.
I'll tell you objectively, just on that topic.
Okay.
That movie looks horrific.
A Star Is Born looks horrific?
No, Venom.
Oh.
It looks like a mess.
Well, why do you say that? I've only seen the trailers.
I've only seen the trailers as well, but it just looks, when I saw it, I'm like, this looks like a Sony flick. It just had that kind of pastiche to it. Just like, this is terrible. You know what I mean? It's like you've got the dark DC, which is like, they're trying to, trying to do something there, I guess, that's somewhat consistent. Although that's another weird one. But the Marvel one, where they're really taking it and having fun with their characters, and there's a nice blend of these characters, and it's interesting, and it's all about the characters and the storytelling, and it's not about this darkness at all. In fact, it's more light than anything else. And then they've got this thing in the middle, this Venom type of thing, which reminded me of the old Spider-Man, where it's just like, it was there, it's fine, there's nothing else. Or maybe some of the X-Men, I'm just like, they're not memorable.
Yeah.
And then I love Tom Hardy. I think he's a terrific actor.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw like the previews, and there were several of these previews, and his accent would kind of go in and out.
Yeah.
And just the whole idea, I was just like, this looks terrible to me. It looks terrible. Like I don't, honestly, if you said, dude, I got a free ticket, let's just go and see if we like it, I'd say, you know what? I support your decision. Please let me know how it went.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No interest.
All of my years, close to a decade of just reviewing any movie that was thrown at me.
Yeah.
I have a high tolerance for crap. So,
oh yeah.
Let's just watch it. It's something to do. It's something to talk about.
Yeah. If it's on the TV in the background, I'm okay with that. But going and
right.
dedicating 2 hours of my life to that thing, negative.
Okay.
It's very similar to my feeling towards the Aquaman, which I saw the preview for, which is just like a cluttered mess to me.
Yeah. I'm not excited to see that.
No.
I don't know. I don't want to talk too long about these other movies, but I'm just so disappointed with what Warner Brothers DC is doing. They really had a chance to compete with Marvel if they had just taken their time. We could have had a nice rivalry.
Yeah.
But, they got impatient, and we have kind of a mess. And it's just one mess compounding on another mess.
Yep.
Like, when they did the Suicide Squad, I thought, wow, this is, even if it's not really like the comic book, which I never read, I thought, wow, they really have something awesome here. How awesome would it be? We had a series of all these superhero movies where they're beating these various bad guys, and then the bad guys get their own Avengers type movie.
Right.
That would have been awesome to me, but that wasn't handled well either.
No, you're right. They're rushing everything. Yeah. And the reality is there's so much money that if they just realized, they wouldn't actually be competing.
Right.
Because everyone who went to go see a Marvel movie that loved it would absolutely pay for the same, would pay for the DC experience as well.
Totally.
There'll still be that, that fanboy debate, but ultimately we're talking about broad appeal in Marvel. That's well beyond the fandom.
Here's the thing. What are we talking about at the end of the day as far as cost, right? What's a movie ticket? Let's say the high end 3D IMAX, you're looking at like close to $20, right? Even the luxury theater, like those, what are those called? Village?
Or the
Village Cinemas or something like that. Anyway, I know they have different names, but even those are like, what, $25 for a luxury theater for one ticket?
Right.
People can afford that. That's not a big deal.
No. State night.
That's what I mean.
And it appeals to both sexes, and it's just a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's a shame.
Right. Oh, well.
Well.
What are you going to do?
Go Marvel.
Yeah. All right, Brian, any other topics you want to discuss before we dive in here?
I guess we can have maybe a frank discussion in front of everyone regarding changing the format a little bit. It has been suggested to me, and I'll throw this out to you without even talking about it, that we maybe minimize some of what has been changed on the past, unless it's really substantial, and kind of leave that to the website, which I thought was an interesting idea, so that we kind of just jump into the beginning of the new stuff. And I think that would have been fine for maybe the last few weeks. This week is a little bit different, more different than the other ones, because there's been so much kind of beefed up, in the script, that it's like, well, we didn't really add that much. We finished up the fight and maybe a little bit of the aftermath, but reality is that the majority of the changes happened before and during that fight. It's like, so I don't know if that really is really pertinent to this discussion, but I would say to some extent there are some issues like that. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really know how to handle that without going back to like page 12 and saying, all right, what happened? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that suggestion has merit, right? I don't know what my thought is yet. I mean, this is the writing process for me. Sometimes the thing that I'm inspired to write, or the thing that makes sense to write, is something farther back, because I don't know, we'll just say thinking 5 steps ahead, where if I beef this up now, it will make this thing that happens later more impactful, or the foundation feels more solid.
And I think that is the nature of this process as well. I mean, I think this is first and foremost a pretty unique process, because my understanding is people either write together or they write alone. And we're not doing either. Like, you're writing part of it alone and then we're discussing, you know what I mean? So It's not like we're collaborating this whole time. Like, what should we write next? Or, you're taking a line, I'm taking a line, or a page or a scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's kind of its own entity. And from that respect, if we weren't trying to do a cool show, I would just probably discuss whatever feels like it needs to be discussed. You know what I mean? To the extent that it needs to be. And how we cut that together is a different story, but for a good show. But I feel like if I feel that something needs to be substantiated and talked about, then I think that we should bring it up.
Okay.
Discuss it.
I'm with you on that. I think let's put a pin in that idea for now, Brian. And if we get a vocal plurality supporting it, then we can make adjustments. At this point, this is the creative process for me right now. It's the thing that has me turning in pages on a pretty good schedule. I don't know that I want to mess it up.
I agree, because I think the quality is certainly there. So I feel like it's gone from something I'm enjoying to something as I read the new stuff, I enjoyed it even more. You know what I mean? So I felt like everything you added was substantive. So should we just dig in?
Yeah. I was afraid. So folks watching, I write after I'm done writing. I know I should go back and proofread. I never do. I'm just so excited to be done and move my mind into a different space that I just send the pages off to Brian and say, he'll find the typos. And he'll typically send me all of the typos before we record, and he didn't do that this time. So I thought, wow, maybe I didn't have that many, or Brian was too busy. We'll see.
There are a couple of little things, but but I'll just kind of handle them as we're
Great.
Yeah, not a lot of time there's not been a lot of time this week, unfortunately.
All good. Okay, so I'm going to move us to the script, and we're going to go over old pages first, starting with page 12.
So just to kind of set the stage a little bit for the viewers, René added some information, some background of Chief Redfeather, who's 55, and gives a nice little description of him. And I don't know, should we act this part, René? Do we
need that? It's up to you.
That's fine. I just have some thoughts, and they're all on 13. There's not really anything on 12. So,
all right.
So
you don't want to read the first couple lines of action on 13?
Couple lines of action on 13?
At the top.
Put that down. That one?
Yeah, right after that.
Chief can't decide, that one?
Yeah.
I can hear, it's funny when I read some of these things.
Yeah.
I can hear your voice. Chief can't decide. The alcohol is so close, so delicious.
I was laughing as I wrote that. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's the little things.
It is the little things. All right. So I'm going to be referencing a lot of this because I do actually have a lot of notes on this particular page.
All right.
So, okay, so Chief can't decide. The alcohol is close. So delicious. Sally draws a pistol and aims it. I'm like, what? It seems like he's just, cleaning up, and all of a sudden she's drawn a pistol on him. Like, wow, it felt like it was really excessive, almost like a movie type of thing that would happen, but nothing that would happen in real life. This is one of those I'm just going to leave to you to decide if you want to do it or not. But it felt like cool for the sake of being, like a cool move for Sally, but not like something she would do. She would probably just give him, just say something to him rather than, point a gun at him in real life. IRL.
No, I get that. This is a movie, so it's heightened reality.
Absolutely.
B, it's kind of establishing that she is, she's not just a lady, right? She is someone who is one of the boys, right? Like, she's an outlaw. She gets things done directly.
Oh, I understand that, but
I know you do. I just hope.
I guess what I don't
understand
is like, there's nothing threatening. I don't really understand the context of it. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It's not like he's going to take that alcohol and throw it at her. It's like he's just going to drink it, or you're going to throw it away, or what? I didn't really see why she's pulling a gun on him. Is all I'm saying. You
don't see it now, but what if it pays off later?
Will it?
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe not explaining why. Maybe it won't dovetail perfectly. Where. Oh, I totally get why she would pull a gun on this guy, because he's dangerous, right, when he drinks.
Remind me what does happen.
Okay, well, at the end, Chief is going to have a little blaze of glory because he's been infected and he's slowly losing his humanity, slowly turning. And at the end, when they get to the bar, he's suddenly free to drink as much as he wants. And, maybe someone says something like, hey, wait a second, Chief, right? And then someone else, maybe Long says, let him drink. And then Chief is just back there just drinking, right? We don't even know what happened to him, really. He's just drinking. And maybe there's like a little lull where they're like contemplating their next move. And then when the zombies start breaking in, and maybe it seems like they're going to be overwhelmed, here's Chief, who's a mad drunk. He just comes up from behind the bar, grabs his tomahawks, goes to town, because he's a crazy mad drunk.
Okay, so by mad, he's just destructive?
Yeah.
So is it fair to say, like, to her, I'm trying to understand what's going on in her head. Like, if he starts drinking, he loses control. Maybe he's trashed her bar in the past. Is that why he's?
That's exactly why he has to. She says that here, right? Like, remember what happened last time? All the damage you did. And then Zeke, once you pay off your debt. So he's like this indentured servant.
Right.
Now, it probably doesn't make sense that Zeke would say, you can come, once you've paid it off, you can come back in and drink as much as you want. Maybe that doesn't make any sense that, I may need to touch that up. Destroy my bar again.
We haven't got to that note yet.
Okay, nice.
So maybe instead of like all the damage you did, no one, if she said something like, no one trashes my bar and gets away with it twice, or something like that, just so we know what she meant, because I didn't know that. I couldn't remember that you mentioned that before. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I didn't realize that it was that's kind of the issue that she had.
Okay.
So maybe it's a little bit more on the nose.
That's fine.
And then it's understandable, because I was like, that's her baby. That's hers. No one's going to mess with that. Then I'm like, yeah, pull the gun. Don't put up with that crap from anyone. I get that now. You know what I mean?
All right. I can be more explicit.
All right.
So let me just, as a general question, I guess. So the way I like to write is as if I'm writing. I know you shouldn't write for the reader, but that's the way I write. Because someone is reading this script, and that's the person you have to get past in order for it to get to the actual decision maker, right?
Right.
One of my favorite screenwriters is Shane Black, and current Predator film aside, you read any of his older scripts, and I think the movies that came from them, that were born from his scripts, they're awesome. Lethal Weapon, Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The way he writes, he's writing for the reader, not the director, not the cinematographer, and you just find yourself laughing and just loving these characters and the dialogue because he's talking to you. And the things he says would never appear on the screen. And I know that goes against convention, screenwriting convention. But that really influenced the way I write. And so, when we talk about, you and I, we've kind of had disagreements on like the sign language. Mm-hmm. I just like to write without being super explicit. I could have introduced Long as Long. I didn't have to introduce him as Masked Man, but I wanted to add a little bit of mystery there.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so I don't know. Well, what do you think about the way I'm approaching this, as opposed to just, telling you up front here at page 13, basically the foreshadowing at page 115.
I prefer it this way. I have read scripts in the past as well. I know what you're talking about, where it's almost like minimalism in terms of the description. They leave everything to the person who's reading it or directing it to kind of fill in those blanks. So I definitely like that you leave little surprises in there. And I totally understood when you did all, when you did Bow as well as Masked Man number 2, and I thought that was cool. I had no problem with that. It's just when I don't understand why they do it. And I think you actually rewrote some of the stuff with the way that Bow communicated.
Yeah, I did a little bit.
And it was subtle, the things that you changed, but to me I was like, oh, there it is. You know what I mean? It's like it totally fixed it with just those minor tweaks.
Okay.
That stopped me. I think they're minor. Now I'll say that up to a point in the script.
All right.
That's how after that, I think we have to discuss the last part of the script as a separate part of this discussion, because it's a little different than what you're talking about.
Okay. The last part of this section that I wrote?
No, the later parts, the 25.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of another
all right
discussion unto itself.
That's portentous.
Oh, yes, there we go.
Foreboding.
It'll pay off later, don't worry. All right, so shall we continue?
Let's do it.
Okay. So when Chief sets the bottle down slowly and silently weeps, I thought, wow, man, that's for another one where it seems very severe, like for a grown man to go from just drinking to weeping. It was like it happened very quickly. I mean, maybe in the movie it doesn't happen so quickly. Maybe there's a breath there, and he kind of ponders what's happening or what he's done in the past, and but I wrote and I kind of went along with what you just mentioned there. That I wrote it happens awfully quick. Maybe his eyes begin to redden and he's overcome with guilt, where it's like he's feeling that the reader will understand it. The whoever's directing it can take that whichever direction they want. But I felt like to start weeping was like, I felt like there's something cracked in him at that point. Not just he's an indentured servant, but that he's a broken man. Again, it's a small thing, but it just felt a little rushed. When he just went from weeping, like he's about to start drinking, and then he starts crying.
All right. There's a lot of history here for Chief that doesn't happen within the timeline of this film is the issue. I mean, we have to think about, why is this American Indian essentially an indentured servant in this bar? Like, how far has he fallen? And the fact that he's Chief, right? That's probably not as the writer, I know that is not just a nickname they gave him. He is actually a chief, or was a chief. So something must have happened to his tribe that he's now just this lone guy, living among the white man, drinking the white man's alcohol, his firewater, or whatever, right? This is like the last comfort he has in life is this alcohol. So, I wanted to play off of, an alcoholic's addiction, and then also just the isolation, a person who is not part of the dominant culture, having to live within the dominant culture, the now dominant culture. And, you can only imagine as the frontier slowly kept moving west.
Yeah.
Just the degradation of this guy's livelihood. I can imagine that he would find himself a broken man.
Okay, so
as a conquered person.
Yeah. So to your question before about putting things in there for the reader that aren't necessarily going to show up on screen.
Yeah.
Something you said right there, I just add. Where you said Chief brings the bottle closer to his lips. I'd be like, Chief brings the bottle, his last comfort in life, closer to his lips. I'm like, I love that. That's like, now I got it. Now I get that. Like, this is like a man who is on his last. This is his last bastion of happiness, and he cannot even have that, even though it's like leftover warm alcohol at this point.
Right.
He can't even have that. That's taken away from him. But,
okay. I can definitely do that. That's just a different way for me to write. Like, I like to write through the description. I like to show rather than tell, right? So the weeping, as you reacted to it, that's really extreme. I wanted the reader to kind of fill in the blanks and essentially the viewer to fill in the blanks. Yeah. But if it makes reading this easier and it communicates, that I think needs to be the priority at this point. Communicate the idea first. So that's not a big change. I'm just trying to let you know where I'm coming from, but I'm happy to make that edit.
Okay. And I have a lot of little things like that during these next paragraphs, so bear with me. So Zeke walks over and slaps him on the back. So when I read that, I was just like, hey, buddy. Like, that's the kind of slap on the back when I read that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was intended or not, but I was like, well, is it more that, or is it more like a little bit consoling, like, hey, relax, Chief?
Or more like, get to work kind of slap on the back.
More like, it's all right, buddy. Once you work off your debt, you're going to come back and you can drink all you want. Or is it like, relax, Chief? It's a little more, hey, don't make such a big deal of it. Don't be down on yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't know if he was being consoling or not.
A little bit.
Okay.
I think I wanted to have a little bit of balance between Sally's, extreme, direct. What am I trying to say here? Directness. That's the word. I was want to say directfulness. That doesn't make sense. That's not a word.
Directosity. No, directosity.
Directosity. Here's a 30-second story. I used to, because I didn't know the suffix a lot of times for words. Like, I would just make up words, just like, portmanteaus, neologisms, whatever, just to get my thought out.
Right.
I started to add every suffix I could think of to words. Like directfulnessity, things like just to make it super apparent to people I was talking to. And I always thought that was hilarious.
Word is just redlining everything you do. No, It's on purpose. I get it.
Just have it learn. Add to dictionary.
All right. So in terms of what Zeke says, you can come back and drink all you want. I was like, I don't know if he's kind of tone deaf to what's going on with Chief at this point, or if he didn't understand it. It seems to me like Chief is under emotional weight, and Zeke sees it as, guy who just wants to drink. Although I'm sure he's familiar with the background of what happened. So
yeah,
would he really say, you can come back and drink all you want? You can go somewhere else and drink all you want. Once you're free. Well,
I think as Zeke forms, as I continue to write, Zeke is more of a like the guy who wants to, I wouldn't say a people pleaser, but he just wants everyone to get along. And I don't know if he really means that, hey, come back and drink all you want. More like, this is what I'm going to say to you so that you don't break down right now. I'm giving you something to look forward to. Is it really going to happen? I don't know that Zeke believes that. Yeah, but there you go. That right now is who Zeke is. Just a guy he's like, whatever the personality conflicts are, or whatever the conflict is in the situation, he will kind of mold himself to make it work so that everyone just gets along and they can keep doing what they're doing.
Okay. So really only one more issue here, one more thought on this rather, where he says, relax, chief, you can once you work off your debt, you can come back and drink all you want. And after they look at the tomahawk, Zeke says, don't you worry, you'll get those back, but not one day sooner. I was just thinking you might consider tying those together a little bit. So if Zeke says something like, relax, chief, you'll get your freedom back, something like that. And then where afterwards he says, don't you worry, you'll get those back. And we're talking about the tomahawks. Don't you worry, you'll get those back too. You know, so like you'll get your freedom and your tomahawks, just to like a little dualism.
That works.
Kind of a nice little touch.
Yeah, I agree.
The only other thing I had to say about this is when I read this, even though I had some issues with, some things I mentioned, I don't know how to describe this other than to say that the scene felt like more full, like everyone is occupying the same space, and it felt like a real space I was reading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this more than what felt like little silos or silhouettes that were happening.
Yeah.
I felt like this was really, I don't know, it just really flowed nicely for me.
When I was writing it, it flowed well for me as well.
Yeah.
And I can tell when the dialogue it just feels natural, and I'm really feeling that these characters are alive.
Yeah.
Is when I don't care about trying to keep everything within a line, or I've got an orphan. What can I say less in the line above it, to get this one word in, because those things really annoy me.
Oh, do they?
Especially when you're working within the limited amount of pages. Those orphans can like freaking push just pages down, Brian. Pages.
I would think having a widow would be worse.
Oh, am I using the wrong one?
No, widow's when it goes to another page.
Oh.
But orphans, like you say, it just kind of skips on the next line.
Well, in Final Draft, a widow will just
move the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I could tell because I could see these things kind of end at different spots.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, I definitely like this scene so much more now that Chief has been fleshed out a little bit. And it's interesting. You've got like 6 characters, right, in the same scene now, including the 2 prospectors who are just there for a second. But I just felt like it, including what was there before with Sally and with Long and Zeke and Bao, the whole thing kind of had a nice flow to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, definitely cool. All right. So
15 has a lot of additions.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to perform them, you can. But I was cool with 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you set it up really nicely.
Yeah, I really liked your suggestion. It just makes so much more sense.
Oh, with Long taking
for Long to be the planner.
Right.
Yeah. I just thought this exchange was really good.
Yeah, I did too. The only thing I did want to say was on page, I think it's on 16. All right. So yeah, page 16, towards the bottom when Zeke says he's sweet on one of the girls at the 9 Lives. Let's just say that we'll catch him with his pants down. I just think by the way, I think it's really funny that we're discussing all these things about, setting up this plan and how it should be, button, like iron proof or whatever it is, bulletproof.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. It's like all these things. I wonder, hey, Dylan, hey, René, we should be very clear, make sure it's all done right, just so it never happens. Anyway, I think this is a good spot where, he's talking about, I'm going to handle Sam. But I think we need a little bit more from Zeke. Like the rest is up to you, because as it happens later, it seemed a little abrupt there.
All right.
So I think that's the right place to put it.
That's fine. Easy enough.
Yeah. And let's see. I underlined some things. I don't know what these mean, so I'm sorry. At the bottom of 16, Long and Bao. Long and Bao look at each other skeptically. Look, boys.
That's their Hollywood romance name.
Yeah, it's not Bong. Boys, this is a real chance for us to finally strike it rich and stop. Did you name Long after that character from The Notebook? What's his name? Look, boys, this is really
Noah?
a chance.
No, wait, that's not Noah. Is it Noah?
Lon. His name is Lon.
Lon, right? Lon. Yes, correct. I'm
Come
sorry.
on, man.
Sorry, brother.
Wow. Okay. What's to finally strike it rich? Okay. So at bottom of 16, Zeke says, "Look, boys, this is really a chance for us to strike it rich and stop running." I got the impression that Sally had been there for a while with her establishment.
Yeah.
And Zeke was her guy who's there as well. So I didn't really see them as running.
Well, okay. So here's a confession. I don't know. I've seen so many movies, right? I don't know if when lines come to me, if they're things I'm essentially stealing from other scripts. So after I wrote that, I was like, that sounds really familiar. And I think I've placed it. I think it comes from Tombstone. This is when Wyatt Earp basically tells his brothers, that, don't get involved with this whole problem with the cowboys. I think he says something like, this is our chance to finally stop running and be a family. And I think that's why it spilled over here. So that can change. He doesn't necessarily have to say running.
It could be a start new life. It could be anything that.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something small. That's funny. All right. So
I did like what he says here, though. This little speech.
Totally. Yeah. The whole, what about next year? What about the year after? What about 10 years from now? That's good. I like that it gave Zeke a little bit something more substantial too,
Yeah.
Where he's not just trying to convince him. It sounds like there's some actual logic applied to his character. You know what I mean? He's not just a guy who's moving the story along.
Yeah, I used to. My initial idea was he was just a guy who was greedy. I just want money, right? Here's some money, easy money, right? But now he's a guy who is feeling the weight of his age, and he's like, "Oof, this is our chance to not have to live like this."
Right. Besides, I kind of got the impression that Sam was more that guy who's after the loot,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Sam. So yeah, I really didn't have anything for the rest of 16 or anything on 17 at all. I have no notes on that.
Great.
I felt like it was really flowing nicely. My next is on on 18. Oh, okay. So it looks like you flesh this out a little bit. I do have a question though. So Stan says, he's talking to Tabert here, and he says, "Okay, since you want the best, there are only 2 bars worth going in this town. The 9 Lives or Sally's. 9 Lives is a cat house, but liquor ain't watered down, and the girls put a little show on stage. If that strikes your fancy. And this says Sally's is even more unsavory." And I'm like, nothing sounded unsavory about 9 Lives though.
That's a cat house.
Oh, is that a bad thing at this time?
For a lawman? Yeah, man, come on. Okay, well, if that's not clear, I can make it a little more clear.
I mean, or you could just kind of set them up a little bit opposed. Like 9 Lives has the hot girls, but the watered down, and Sally's has the hard liquor and unsavory people.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That is good.
Okay. There's a note here. You have to write it down.
No, that's excellent. This speech, in my mind, my mind's eye, that is, it's not meant to actually be listened to anyway. This whole time, it's Everett looking down the street at Maggie approaching. So this is just supposed to be white noise. And I wanted to give Stan something to say during the white noise rather than have him ad-lib it.
Interesting. Do you want to write it that way?
Well, maybe I can add that, like a line above this.
Or no, maybe just like split what he's saying by putting Everett's attention is focused on blah, 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 but he keeps going on. You know what I mean? Like split that little description, understands dialogue into the middle. I like that. I like what you're saying because I think that's cool.
Yeah. I can do that.
Yeah. I'll make a note here on this. Just a split. By the way, there are a couple little tiny things I'm not even mentioning because
I'll see it in your notes.
Yeah. But I did like his reaction to what Billy said.
What's his reaction?
Everett smiles awkwardly.
Ah, yes.
Back by the
honesty.
It's cute. That's good. All right, so I'm jumping to 20 now.
20, yes.
Yeah. So when Long's first thing he says in Cantonese is the sheriff will be busy, not sure how many men in the bank, but if Zeke is right about the silver, that's plain to split 5 ways. I would argue that he should probably be in English until he gets to the "You are my little brother" part, which is the more poignant Cantonese part.
Okay.
Just because it really adds that kind of punch to the Cantonese, which I think is the little window into their relationship. That no one else is allowed, if they can hear.
Right.
No one else is allowed to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, they're
okay.
If they do over here, they're in it together.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay. Where are we? We're not in new stuff yet, right?
No.
So I'm still okay. All right. So this is another thought on the because I see the carelessly on the top of 21 didn't change.
Yeah. Well.
All right. All right. So here's a thought.
Okay.
I was like, as I'm reading this, I have a background in English and
yes,
reading and interpreting literature, and I've done that many times on our other old show.
All right.
And I was thinking, what if he like gulps the rest of his drink, puts his glass down, and it kind of tips over, right? And Long has this discussion with him, it says, you'll never have to think this again. You've come this far without a stain of murder on your soul. Come with me a little longer. And then Bao sides and nods. Long grins and laughs, and maybe he writes the glass at that point. Like he's going to be there. He's going to straighten him out. He's going to be there to look after him. You know what I mean? It's just like a subtle poetic little thing. And I'm trying to just give a little bit more.
Look, that's fine. I can definitely do that. Here's the thing. I wanted Bao to show that he's frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure 2 actions are described in this line. That he finishes his drink and then he shows his frustration by setting the glass down.
Yeah.
In such a way that demonstrates the frustration.
Agreed.
And I wanted to keep it all in one line. So carelessly
okay.
fit.
Just the next line adds the glass falls to its side.
That's what I mean. Now I guess I can add that, and now none of this is going to matter.
You don't have to. It was just a thought. I'm always trying to add that little something.
Oh no, I like that. That's a nice little pull, or pull, not a pull, but something to focus on.
Okay. So I have a question on what Long says when he says, once this job is done, we can go back home rich men.
Yeah.
You'll never have to think about this again. And when I was reading that, I thought, does money lead to a more clear conscience for him? Or does he mean like, you'll never have to think about this type of work again? Is that kind of where you were going with that?
Well, the original line was, you'll never have to think about killing again. And that was in the previous version.
Okay.
And I cut it just because it felt like I was hammering home too much this idea of, I don't want you killing people. You know?
Yeah.
So just trying to get his mind off of, once again, this idea, let me say what needs to be said to get you to not do the thing I don't want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So put his mind somewhere else, the future. You'll forget this country, all of that. You'll forget the terrible accident. And the scruff is the back of a neck.
Yeah, I was thinking scruff here, but there's also like a scruffy beard.
Oh,
like
I see.
think he means like this, like
you thought he was doing this to his face.
It could have been one of these deals, Listen to me,
Come with me.
All right, let's
wait.
Let's move
maybe I'm
this.
wrong though, because maybe humans have a nape. They have a nape, not a.
No,
scruff.
they call it scruff too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because this is like usually scruffy.
Yeah, okay.
Not necessarily called scruff like the noun.
Because I know the cat, you grab a cat by the scruff, and that makes sense because it's that loose skin, and maybe that's what it means.
Right.
But do cats have napes?
I don't know, man. That seems pretty,
okay.
felinist. I don't really want to talk about that.
Felinistical?
Felinistity. All right. All right, so now we're on to the deal where Long is agreeing to do the job, right? So in the middle of 21, he says, Zeke, you've got a deal. And then they toast. Here. Did you bring the dynamite? Which I thought was handled better. But then I was like, wait, what? And so he didn't obviously know all the details. And I was like, well, I felt like it wasn't still quite right. Like he shouldn't agree to it yet. But I have a suggested solution for this.
Okay.
What about in 21 in the middle, instead of you got a deal? It's like, Zeke, is there anything else I need to know? And then Zeke says, well, Bao, did you bring the dynamite? They go through that thing. And then on 22, after Zeke explains, if we had more time, I'd say I planned every detail along, but we don't have time. I just want to make sure you have a backup case in case whatever you come with the output doesn't work out. That's all. Maybe Long contemplates and says, all right, Zeke, you got a deal. And then they toast.
So
and
you want to have the
says,
agreement later.
Just past, between like Zeke saying that and Long saying fair enough. Seems like a natural place where, okay, now he's got the details. He knows what's up. He's not going to be surprised again.
Okay.
Anything else, Zeke? The sheriff has one arm. Wow, what? Oh, man. Okay. 23.
You don't like this. What's the matter? The handkerchiefs? They kept that? Is that bothering you, or?
Just one suggestion.
Okay.
For that.
All right.
Take it or leave it. I'm trying to offer solutions instead of pointing out problems.
Oh, well, that's
I'm trying to manage.
I get it.
The writer. What about, instead of waving handkerchiefs and beckoning men, offering passersby a glimpse of their undergarments?
Okay, I mean, look, if that makes you happy, I can say, they reveal their 3 inches of their slip as men walk by. How's that? They wave their skirts a little bit, revealing their slips, and yell "Yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo!"
Oh God!
Then when I'm on set with the director,
exactly,
make sure they have handkerchiefs. Wave them back.
Why are all they saying "Yoo-hoo, Brian"? What is that about? What does that mean? Well, Brian's an Old West term, you see. It means man who talks too much. Oh man!
You almost owed me a new monitor there, Brian.
All right. So where do we start the new stuff?
When Long becomes quickly aware. I think I rewrote that.
Give me the page.
It should be.
I'm on 25 now.
26.
Okay.
Yeah. But regains his awareness quickly is what I say. I write now, because the other version was too awkward.
On 26?
Yeah, right after the slug line external or exterior. Sally Saloon.
Okay, that's all the new stuff. All right, so I don't remember if this was here before on 25, where it says that Bao enters from the back. He's coming in from.
Oh, that's new. That's new. This way, he doesn't hear the exchange until he comes back. Before Long goes across the street, Bao says, he does the whole Pepto-Bismol dance.
Yeah,
right?
And he goes to the outhouse.
And then Long's like, yeah, okay.
So just another thing on this, in terms of Zeke. So Zeke follows carrying a keg of beer. He laughs at the tail end of the joke he just told Bao. To me, that was just, I really like that because, again, it's like...
It adds a little something.
Yeah, I love the fact that Bao can't carry on a conversation with him. Doesn't matter to Zeke. He's just going to tell him the joke anyway and laugh at his own joke.
Yeah.
To me, that was like really cool, subtle character building.
Well, when I was watching it in my mind, I was like, I don't want audiences to think something else happened, right? Like these two guys coming in from the back,
One's adjusting his zipper.
Yeah, one's adjusting his pants. So I had, okay, Zeke, you're carrying a keg of beer. You're telling a joke, probably a dirty joke.
Right. I thought it was fun. I thought it was really good. I didn't go there. That's kind of funny.
You got to cover all your bases as a writer. Here's the thing. At this new version, I have to say, I really feel like I've developed these characters almost like as an artificial family.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt that way.
Right.
Maybe not as much Sally, because we don't get as much of her
Right.
necessarily, but I definitely felt that the three guys, had
Well,
developed.
when she's
They've got a
after the
lived in.
yeah, after the gunfight though, I
Yeah.
think, the fact that
Right.
she's the one cradling Bao,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's gonna go a long way, despite her not having dialogue.
Right. Right. Right.
So yeah,
I'm
I
with you.
think this is gonna go a long way towards building that kind of dichotomy between the bad guys team
Yeah.
and then the good guys team. That
Right.
they're both like, they're individual groups. These are their families, and so, you know, it's the stakes are going to be higher for each side trying to have their side survive.
Right. I agree.
Hey,
And
by the way,
I definitely felt the, there's a lived in quality as well between Stan and Everett that I liked as well. Like there's a comfort
it's coming
there.
along. Yeah,
They've had a lot of these discussions, even though he just learned he wants to have a drink. It sounded like, they've had a lot of conversations, and this is the first time he said something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, rather than like, oh, you like to drink too? Okay. Here's where to go. It felt like it didn't feel that way at all. I'm sorry, you gonna say something?
I was going to ask, did you watch The Horde?
I didn't have time.
Okay, I was just
No,
curious because I
not
was like, man, I really want you to watch it in the way it's meant to be watched. Just
I
put it
watched
that
the
way.
opening scene in the cemetery, and I'm like, am I watching the right thing?
Dude,
And
I
think
know exactly. When I saw it, I'm like, what the hell is this? And then,
well, then I watched the preview, and I'm like, I don't know if this is the same movie or not. I can't tell. I better just write Renee and make sure I'm not going to waste my time.
yeah, yeah. No, I say watch it with better quality.
Oh yeah,
It's one of those movies that I think the quality of it, of the film itself, is worth watching the way it was meant to be watched.
Okay, cool.
All right. What else, Brian?
Well, I think the new stuff is all that's really left.
Okay. One thing you didn't catch when you were looking for typos, I spelled sight, Stan's rifle sight.
I didn't call every little thing out, like I said. You can look it in my notes.
Oh, all right. No.
Because
What
I'm
I
like-
meant is, I don't think you caught that even in just your regular notes.
What page is it?
Well, it's on 26 now, but in the previous notes you gave me. And that's embarrassing. One of my weaknesses, everybody, are homophones. So, hey,
Was it
you're
SITE
writing
there?
it's late at night. You're like, that sounds the same.
Was it SITE there?
Yeah.
Is that? Oh, I never even noticed.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Okay,
went right past it.
here we go. This is all
So is this what I'm
Brian.
going to read to you?
Yeah.
You got like a line somewhere?
My eyes.
Ah!
Oh, my body.
Oh, sorry.
Hey,
about
now.
that. Hey. All right. So we're going to start with exterior Sally Saloon.
Might as well.
All right. Are you full screen?
Oh,
So I
Thank
can
you.
put my papers up?
thank you very much. Boom.
You see, folks who are watching, Renee is also producing the show live as we do this. So this is a bootstrap effort, definitely. Okay. Exterior Sally Saloon, continuous. A rifle shot hits Bao in the chest. As Bao squeezes his trigger, Bao's bullet grazes Everett across his temple, sending him to the ground. Long is stunned momentarily as he watches his brother fall, but regains his awareness quickly. He senses attackers moving into position around him. Stan on the roof of Porter's, a man with a rifle hiding around the corner, two men with pistols behind stacked barrels, another man with a shotgun behind a low fence. The anguish drains from Long's face as his instincts and reflexes take over. He draws both pistols. Long hears Stan cock his rifle, and Long fires a bullet at him, taking his hat off. Stan ducks. The posse open fire, sending Long diving and twisting in the air, incredibly returning fire to suppress the attackers back behind cover. Once Long is back on his feet, he fires another bullet at Stan to suppress him, but the rifleman behind the corner takes a shot and grazes Long's bicep. Almost without looking, Long returns fire instantaneously along the same trajectory. The rifleman is hit as he leans back into cover, but the shot is fatal and he falls out of cover, dead. The men with pistols open fire, grazing Long's leg. Long dives and rolls, firing at the man with the shotgun to suppress him before he rises. Exterior, Porter's General Goods, roof, continuous. Stan hyperventilates before rising to shoot, but Long suppresses him with a shot that splinters part of the roof. Exterior, Sally Saloon, continuous. The men behind the barrels fire again, nicking Long's ear. Again, without looking, he returns fire along that trajectory and hits one of the men in the mouth, sending teeth exploding out the back of his skull. The other man refuses to rise. Long suppresses the man with the shotgun by firing bullets into the fence. Another bullet from Long forces Stan to duck. Realizing the man behind the barrels won't stand, Long fires at the peg holding back the barrels. They come tumbling down, exposing the man with the pistol. He makes a panicked face. Long unleashes a small barrage of bullets that make his body dance before falling over dead. The man with the shotgun seizes the opportunity and fires buckshot that clips Long, spinning him to the ground. Stan fires, grazing a thigh. From the ground, Long suppresses both men with a couple of shots. The man with the shotgun is well covered, except for a small hole in the fence that exposes the man's butt. Long makes a precise shot that stands the man up in pain. His face goes expressionless as another bullet passes through his skull the moment it's exposed. Long gets up, but is wobbly on his feet. He sees Stan's rifle peek above the roofline and waits for Stan to rise a little higher. As he does, Long unloads the rest of his bullets. Exterior, Porter's General Goods, roof, continuous. The bullets splinter the wood of Stan's cover, sending smoldering splinters and bits of metal into Stan's face. He falls backwards, grabbing at his eyes.
Stan. My eyes!
Exterior, Sally Saloon, continuous. Long keeps firing until the hammers of his pistol slam against empty cartridges. They make tinny sounds. Finally, Long lowers his guns, exhausted. Blood runs down his left arm. He holsters his gun and limps over to Bao. During the firefight, Sally had come out to tend to Bao. She looks at Long, wide-eyed, as she cradles Bao's head in her lap. Zeke presses a dirty bar rag against Bao's chest. The blood is profuse and spills from the hole in Bao's back as well. Long falls to his knees next to Bao. Tears well up in Long's eyes. Bao looks back with an inscrutable expression that is a mixture of panic, anger, and compassion. Panic takes over when blood fills Bao's throat. He flails like a drowning man.
Long. I'm here! I'm here!
He holds Bao's hands tightly in his own as Bao thrashes in his last throes. And then he's still. Long gasps before letting out a mournful wail. He hunches over and shuts his eyes tight, but they only force tears to drip from them. Exterior, Porter's General Goods, continuous. Stan calms down and pulls his hands away from his face. The area around his eyes are bloody, but his eyes look relatively fine. He blinks several times in wide-eye surprise. He scrambles for his rifle that has skid away. Exterior, Sally Saloon, continuous. A dark shadow falls across Long as a figure approaches the grisly scene. A cocking gun draws Long's attention. Everett, bloodied from the gash on the side of his head, points his pistol at Long. Everett's face is tight with emotion and anticipation. It's hard to tell if he's more excited at capturing Long or witnessing Long's loss.
Everett. Now you know how it feels.
Long slowly turns to face Everett. He looks up at him, completely defeated.
Long. Do it.
Everett tightens his grip on his pistol.
Do it. Oh, sorry. Long. Do it.
Exterior, Porter's General Goods, roof, continuous. Stan shoulders his rifle and aims. Insert Stan's rifle sight. He would normally have a clear shot, but Everett spoils the angle by standing in front of Long.
Stan, to himself. Get out of the way.
Back to scene. Exterior, Sally Saloon, continuous.
Long. Do it!
Everett grits his teeth and steels himself to execute Long, but his hands begin to tremble. Seeing this, Long flies into a rage, diving for Everett's legs. Everett stumbles back, but Long keeps grabbing him while on his knees.
Long, in Cantonese. Kill me! Kill me! Kill me!
Finally, Everett pistol whips Long hard across the temple, knocking him out cold. Trembling, he holsters his weapon.
Everett. No. You'll face justice.
Slowly, townsfolk emerge to inspect the carnage. Stan approaches and is disgusted to see Long is still alive.
Stan. You gotta be kidding me. He just killed 4 men. Everett. And he'll face a jury for that. Stan. Jury? Let's just string him up right now. Still with me, Brian? I hear nothing. I got no audio from you.
Hello.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Everett grabs Stan by the collar.
Hang on, let me just make sure all of my windows are right so that we're not looking at the wrong thing. Okay. Everett. No, that's not justice.
Stan struggles for a moment, then relaxes.
Stan, tell that to them.
He motions to the women who come running to the sides of the men long just killed. Their wails fill the air as faces begin turning towards the Marshal, and fingers point at Long.
Everett, come on. Let's get him off the street.
Stan and Everett each grab an arm and begin dragging Long away. Maggie, Billy, and Ray watch from a few feet away. Everett doesn't look at them as he passes.
Okay.
I feel like that was my monologue, man.
No, Brian, you did a great job. Fantastic.
I took a moment in there to cough, and I think I muted for too long. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I thought I lost the Zoom connection here. Okay, so as I think I said to you before we started rolling, this fight will probably disappear, meaning the fight will still be there, but this description is going to be severely truncated. I don't know if that's necessarily fair to future readers of this script, but I think it's good for the detail to be there, at least for you, for now.
Right.
And the reason I bring this up, the reason I think about this is we're already at page 30. So if we go by 1 minute per page rule, we're 30 minutes into a movie, right? Mm-hmm. And this this is probably, I mean, does this qualify as the inciting incident? Because, Long was doing his thing. He was going along with his regular life, and now it's been interrupted by this other thing. And so, did Act 1 just end? I think so.
It seems like it is to me. Like, I felt like the next thing that's going to happen, I'm not sure if I'm going to see him in jail or if I'm going to see all the other weird stuff that's about to happen to set the next part of the movie in motion. But I felt like this was definitely a breaking point in the film. Like, I felt like this was an act end.
That's what I mean. And I think 30 minutes is a little late for Act 1 to end.
Right.
Now, that, maybe the structure of this film is just a little different, and that's fine. I don't mind that. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, maybe this needs to be sped up a little bit. Like, if I chopped a lot of this description out, I could get this down to probably like 25 minutes or 25 pages.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Do I sound okay, Brian? I just had a flicker. Yeah. Okay, good.
You're fine. So my first thought on this was, well, the first thing I always do is I always read your blog post because I like to get a little insight. When I see pages, first thing I do is check your if you put a blog post up. Yeah. And immediately I read kind of, there was an extended scene here, and you wrote a little bit more than usual in terms of the descriptions.
Right.
And I felt like as I was reading this, I thought this feels a little bit like it's the genesis of the novelization of the script. You know what I mean? Okay. Like, you've got a lot of the great detail here, but I'm guessing it's going to be trimmed quite a bit as we fine tune the script.
It has to, right? Like, you read any other movie script where there's a fight, an extended fight scene. How is it described? Like, you think of like The Matrix. How did they describe their fights?
They fight.
That's it.
That's it. So there's some things on here that make sense to describe, though.
Sure. Fine. But I guess here's the thing. I've written other fight scenes in different scripts, and there are things about those fight scenes that I think are very cool, and it's important to describe them and set them up. In this sequence, what I wanted was to show one guy, like how could one guy realistically, at least, within the confines of a movie, realistically, defend himself against 5 attackers, right? And I like my favorite part of this is Stan trying to get up and trying to shoot, right? But he's always having to duck because Long is spinning plates here, right?
Right.
He's keeping track of everybody.
Right.
And I just think that's awesome. I mean, I don't know if the other details, like, hey, the guy with the shotgun, there's a little hole in the wall or in the fence, and he's able to like nick him there to get him to come out of cover. I don't know if that's really necessary. I wanted to show that Long is that when he's in the zone, it's like a superpower, and he can be deadly accurate.
Right.
Now, the other concern I have is I didn't count bullets, and he probably has to stop and reload at the end. I think before unloading all the bullets at Stan, I need to have him on the ground, like trying to reload furiously.
Right.
Because he knows there's one more guy on the roof that he's got to take care of. He's
at a minimum of 18 by the time he gets up and is wobbling on his feet. I did count.
You did count them. Okay.
Like, there's a lot of bullets here going on. How many? He's only got 2 pistols.
I know. So yeah, he's going to have to reload.
Yeah. I mean, when you're saying he lets out a barrage, I'm like, well, that's got to be at least 3, but usually a barrage is more than that. The fastest clip load. Or are these clips, or these are actual like manual?
Yeah, these are revolvers.
Yeah, these are revolvers.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it anyway, just for the fact of getting the lay of the land. Like I have a very clear understanding of what happened here versus they fight and I wouldn't.
Right.
So, I mean, from my perspective, I'm glad I got to read it, but I think you're right. I think this is probably going to be one of those things that gets trimmed as the story evolves.
Yeah. Well, once I hit like 120 pages and the movie isn't done, this is where I'm going to, this is the fat that gets shrunken down, that gets rendered.
So I don't have a lot of notes, to be honest with you, just because it's just descriptive. You know what I mean? So I understood, what was going on. I have like 3 notes, but they're very small. One is that Everett gets hit, grazed at the temple, right?
Yeah.
So he's down.
Side.
Right. He's down for, I got it. He's down for like pretty much this whole thing until the end.
Yeah.
Where he walks up to Long. But Long, the superhero, gets hit in the bicep, leg, ear, there's buckshot, and then he gets hit in the thigh.
Yes.
With the different bullets. This boy is beaten up, and he's still,
Well,
I mean, this is definitely setting up a huge difference between the two opposing forces.
He wasn't hit. He wasn't knocked unconscious, right? I mean, you get hit in the head.
Yeah.
It's enough to to spin you around and knock you down. I have to assume, it's lights out at least for a little bit.
Right. My thought was not that. It was more, Long's going to be in the rest of this movie, and he's, sounds like he's fairly crippled at this point.
Oh no, it's going to be patched up like movie wise or movie-ized, where he's unconscious. They fade out.
Yeah.
And we either have like these quick like coming in and out of consciousness shots where you've got like, the doctor, oh, he's pretty beat up. Mm-hmm. Let's wrap him up or whatever, right? And then, Long wakes up and he's in jail and he's got all these bandages on him.
So I guess the question then is, just as the storyteller in this film and what's about to happen, is that, do you want your main character this injured? Or does it matter?
I don't think it matters. I mean,
so then, I guess the alternative would be, I don't really have a problem if he just gets nicked, in the bicep or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he's not, these bullets aren't actually hitting him, right? They're just like grazing. They're all flesh wounds, right?
Yeah. But I'm saying, that maybe they go through his, he doesn't have a duster, ever does a duster.
Okay, you're saying like goes through like one of his little, like his pant leg or whatever.
Yeah.
Or he's like through a hole in his hat or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I just hate when the character gets so shot up. This is like a rock type of thing, He's like he gets his arm cracked open or something. He gets shot in the side of the gut, and an hour later he still saved the day. This guy would have been pretty much dead by this point, or at least incapacitated.
That's totally fair. I mean, I don't know if someone can actually survive buckshot at the distance that I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I imagined he was only clipped by the outer edge of the spread.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. When I was writing it, my initial thought when I imagined this scene before I started writing, long ago, even before we started this project,
yeah,
I imagined he would be unscathed. Like this truly was like a superpower where, a bullet would whiz past him, and because of his lightning fast reactions and, pinpoint accuracy, he could just aim on the same trajectory and hit the guy. Right. And just guys were falling off roofs, and falling through windows. You know what I mean? It was going to be way over the top.
Right.
And, as I wrote this, I just thought, you know what, I'm having a change of heart on how I want this to go down. I think, Long is a bad guy, and he's kind of established himself as a bad guy up to this point. If we can have him suffer during this fight, I don't know. I feel like it will balance the scales a little bit to rehabilitate him later in the film.
Okay.
That's where I'm coming from at this point. It can change. Yeah. Or maybe as a compromise, I can just I can write it so that he's less injured. Ooh, I'm spitting all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, I know what you're saying about him being the bad guy, but he's also got a heart, because of everything he does with his brother. That relationship is very much setting up that he's a compassionate guy. You've also set up the thing with the women and children. So I don't know I just don't know if he has to get quite so brutalized. That's all I'm saying. Or unless you use that as a, he's unconscious as things are happening, and he has to kind of catch up. And maybe that's a something that can lead into the next act, but I'm not 100% sure how you're going to unravel that anyway yet. You know what I mean? And I don't really want to know. I kind of want to read that.
Right.
So I would just keep it in consideration, because he seems like he's pretty bloodied up right now, especially if he has to run later. I'm like, oh crap, this guy's leg and thigh, his ear. I get the bicep and the buckshot. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on with this guy. And the reality is, in response to your other thing about you've got 5 pages here in a fight, when they film this, it's probably not going to be a 5-minute fight. So
you're absolutely
right. Say,
yeah. This is like a minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah. So it'll get trimmed, I'm sure. But anyway, and then my last thing was really just a question in terms of Maggie, Billy, and Ray. Was the idea that this was all happening right after he had that little discussion with Maggie?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if this was happening a little bit later in the day, or if this is all kind of happening in pretty rapid succession.
Well, I mean, they had just gone into the store to get their supplies, so
okay.
I think it makes sense. And once again, I just wanted the two, we'll just call them teams, to be present here.
Yeah. So the two teams, the good team is Maggie, Billy, Ray, Everett, Billy, Ray, Maggie, Billy,
and Cyrus.
Maggie, Ray, Billy, Everett, and Stan versus the other 5, right?
Right.
Or 4 now.
Yes.
Okay. But which side of the prospector is going to go on? Well, that's the real question.
They're going to be zombies, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, man, that's it for me.
Well, okay, so here's my concern as we kind of start to wind down here.
Yeah.
So we're 30 pages in. We're just finishing Act 1, it seems. And the next 10 or 15 pages, they're going to establish the town. and new characters. I mean, they're all minor characters, you know, like I need to establish the Union soldiers, you know, the guy who's going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
I need to establish oh my God. Okay, so let's just say the next 25 pages. I need to establish the town, the soldier, the doctor, the Indian, the snake oil salesman. I need to get the prospectors more defined, and you know, not defined as characters, but as plot devices, right? Like the prospectors are going to find the meteorite that's going to turn them into zombies. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking as you're talking.
Yeah. I need another guy who's going to get bitten by a dog. The snake oil salesman has to sell potions of immortality or maybe vitality or something to some old people. You know, a lot of these things, like, you know, as an audience member, you've just watched a movie that was going down one trajectory.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have all these new characters that, you know, you're wondering, is this person important to the story? Do I need to invest time into knowing who they are and what they do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if audiences are going to know at this point, you know, these characters don't matter. Oh, there's also going to be a priest. I need to have a priest. And then the girls at the cat house.
Are the girls at the cat house getting, like, you know, characters? Or they're just going to caricature more?
Only one of them is important. That's the one that Stan likes.
Okay. Well, realistically, I think you're probably going to be around 25 pages by this point in the final script, I'm guessing. I don't think we're going to be a full 30 in. I'll bet you.
I may need to trim a lot of the dialogue. Maybe Sam gets written down a little bit. Maybe the thing in the train happens a little differently, a little faster.
I mean, I think you need to have that establishing shot in the beginning, though. That kind of fun, you know, character building in the very beginning. I would hate to lose much there. And you're closer to it than I am, and I still would hate to lose that, just because I think it sets them up pretty nicely. Maybe Sam a little bit, because I don't want to like him as much as I do anyway. Especially where, you know, where he's going to go. But if you're...
There's a term, Brian. There's a term in screenwriting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it applies just to screenwriting, but it's called killing your darlings.
Absolutely. It happens in all writing. I'm with you on that. Absolutely agree. I guess the question is, I guess when I was thinking about how the movie's going to be shifting, I didn't see a whole lot being established beyond, like, almost like an extended montage as far as the events. So I didn't expect to learn that much about the snake oil salesman, as an example. I expected to learn more about the people at the fort, you know, because that's going to play a major part into the actual story.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the priest. Who are some of the other ones you mentioned?
Well, the prospectors.
Yeah, to me, it's just like, it could be the same prospectors we just saw.
No, they are. They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that it has to be much there other than...
No, you're right.
Discovery.
It doesn't.
So I don't see it as... I almost saw it as like a big montage, because the whole idea was kind of subterfuge in terms of, like, we're not going to explain what actually happened.
Yeah.
But all these things kind of happened. You know what I mean? So I don't know if there's anyone you want to add into an existing scene more. Like maybe the snake oil salesman is coming in, or maybe an Indian or something that plays into it, so you've kind of established them a little bit more, or maybe a line of dialogue about the snake oil salesman just left here. You know, what was that all about? Or I don't know, something between Zeke and Sally, but I don't know if it's necessary, really. Yeah.
So if we're talking about, like, the timeline within the movie, this is still around the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So after Long wakes up in jail and he's patched up, you know, I think Stan's going to say something like, you know, and life is still going to go on without you, or something, right? And then that's when we do this nice little, like, drone shot flying over the town. I don't know about the drone shot. Just
Yeah.
want to work that in. Anyway, and then people start arriving. We can have the snake oil salesman who was introduced earlier in a montage. He arrives. Stan walks over to the cat house and he sits down and he sees his girl come out on stage and maybe she gives him a wink as she's like doing her little, can dance or whatever. We got I gotta have a mortician, or rather an undertaker. Collect the bodies. He's got to be a character. And then at the end of this montage, I don't even know if you can even call it a montage. It's just like a series of events happening quickly. The train finally arrives, and Sarah and Jimmy are reintroduced, and they're getting off the train, shaken, upset, And then we go to the next day. Can you imagine? You're on this train, you're stuck in the desert, waiting for these men to arrive to fix the tracks.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there are freaking 3 dead bodies on the train with you in the passenger seats next to you. And you're stuck there for hours. Oh,
I assume they'd move them or move.
Just the same.
As far as what ways they could.
Oh, it's actually 4 dead bodies.
Oh yeah, the woman. It'd be interesting if there's something to tie them in somehow, so they're not just like these random events.
Well, I mean, we've kind of talked about them. Stan has that girl that he likes. We already know Jimmy and Sarah. The prospectors were introduced. Now, the soldiers aren't really established.
No. Yeah, that's its own thing, really. But I'm saying maybe the train goes by the fort on the way into town or something like that, and then we stop at the fort, and maybe the train goes by something else, the mine, and we stop at the prospectors. I'm just saying something to kind of guide us through the story, and it doesn't just feel random in terms of all these events happening. Their drone, this is like replacing the drone and taking us through the different events. I don't know if it makes sense or not, or if that could work, but as kind of a through line, could be the train, and then
I see what you're saying. It's too random that we're just jumping to all these different characters.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know yet. Let me write it out, and we'll see how it feels.
Okay.
Because my original conception was that it was just random, because I didn't want any one thing to make the audience think, oh, that was the cause. I want it to be plausible that all of these things could have been the cause.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not saying it's any less random. I'm just saying as more of a storytelling or a plot device to kind of get to these different environments, because we're going to be in lots of different locales, I guess is what I'm
Instead
trying
of
to say.
me just writing meanwhile.
Exactly.
Meanwhile.
Split screen.
Yeah. Exactly. Have you
René's
seen the
time.
movie Domino?
Yeah,
Did you like that movie?
I did.
Oh, God, that movie was so annoying to me. I'm
Well,
watching it with my
You got to
friend.
be in or not.
Huh?
You got to be into it or not.
Well, the movie was okay, but the presentation was the problem for me. I was turning to my friend. I was like, when the movie has to guide you with flowcharts, there's a problem with the presentation. Like, it's too complex. There are too many stories and characters to follow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I felt it was very intentional, though. I mean, it wasn't like, we have to do something here. I felt like it was, from the beginning, they intended it to be kind of kitschy like that.
Okay, that's fine.
Like, they could have told it in a more basic way, but I think that was a choice, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just think it was the wrong choice.
I found it interesting.
Okay.
Plus, I think that was Keira Knightley, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, I'm Domino. Or whatever
nothing
she says.
dislike there.
Well, it's fine.
You sounded just like her for
I
a
know.
second. They're like, what's happening?
I got to write in a British character now into this,
No, you don't.
into this movie.
Colonial. All right. Just a suggestion, and I'll put this in a way that, let's see, how do I put this? It's just a suggestion, Renee. I know that you tend to write in a way that is fluid. And I feel
fluid?
like you kind of sit there and it kind of pours out of you nicely. I have a feeling this one's going to be a little bit more tricky, these next few pages.
Tricky. It's tricky.
It's tricky to write these 10 or so pages. I'm just
I was hoping you could continue. That was pretty
I decided to stop. I'm just thinking if you're going to wait till like, let's say midday afternoon on Thursday in the hopes that 10 pages are going to come out, I have a feeling this is going to be a little more difficult than adding what you've added before and then finishing the fight scene. Cause I think those were firmly in your head before you wrote it, before you wrote any of that. It felt like it was all kind of there.
This, Brian? You concerned? That the quality.
Well, it was like 11 something on Thursday before I got pages.
Wait, what? What was that?
Yes, you technically met the Thursday threshold.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, wait a second. Do you need the pages earlier?
No, it's fine. I just have a feeling that if you wait, like sometimes you have other projects going on. I have a feeling this one's going to take you a little bit longer.
No, I was actually. So let's talk about things outside of this project. So my side jobs, one of the issues is that I have to pitch ideas before I can act on them. And I can't pitch them on the weekend because the person who approves the pitches isn't available on the weekend. So it's typically Monday. So I lose a day, and it takes me some time to actually write the content for those pitches. So I lose a day that basically if I could start working on these things on the weekend, that would give me some time to, be ahead of the game so that I'd have more time to write these pages.
Right.
Now, with that said, this person has given me, has pitched me with an idea, and whenever I get the pitch, I just say, yes, I love it. Let's do it. I don't care what it is. The fact that it's pre-approved, I'll do it. I'll write it. So provided I don't even know what the real pitch, I haven't read it. He just said, hey, here's an idea. And I just agreed immediately. So provided the idea is actually something I can write quickly, then we shouldn't have a problem as far as late on Thursday or whatever.
All right. I just want you to have to stress it. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Brian. Since we've already established that it's questionable how these scenes are going to play out as written, and I already have what I need from these scenes, the content is not a problem. The craftsmanship of them, the artistry is the thing that's probably going to be missing. But who cares? These are all just like, they're just plot devices to get us going.
I think they should all be out-of-body experiences while Long is recovering. What's happened? This is a superhero.
Yeah, that's an idea.
The astral projects, over to the fort and over to the mine. No,
Brian, no. Well, how about this?
Alpha response, dude.
How about a maybe? How's that? A maybe.
No, I prefer the nose. Thank you.
It's my inner beta, Brian. Okay, so before we wrap up here,
yes,
I did want to just kind of emote a little bit and say I'm really enjoying this process. I didn't think it was going to be as effective as it is. Like, already 30 pages. I know I wrote this in the blog post, but yeah, I'm already 30 pages, and they're like good pages. They're not just like, here's some crap and I'm at 30 pages. Haha. Like, I feel like if we were to just film these 30 pages right now, they could look pretty good. Yeah, like totally. It would be an interesting, satisfying story up at this point. Like, you'd be engaged.
Right. You could actually, at this point, write a great, first 30 minutes of a heist. You know what I mean? This could go into a great heist at this point,
Right.
Because now the main guy is hurt, how are they going to do this? They're running out of time, and, that's cool.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not going to go that direction, but I'm just saying it is a standalone, great 30 pages. I agree with you. I'm glad you're enjoying it, because I know this is a little different.
Dude,
very different.
I'm already thinking about like seasons like 3 through 7, basically, right? Like, I'm thinking, okay, once I get this thing done, I want to like, you know, my dragon story, right? You remember that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you know, that's a trilogy. It's actually a quadrilogy.
Wow.
And I've never like moved on the other 3 movies of that series. And this is the thing. I know this is the thing that will help me do that.
There you go.
Because I love doing this. This is great.
I do too. What if I have something to write?
No,
How would you do that?
Here's what you have to write. No, hey, if you have a project, Brian, I'm happy to explore it with you.
If you have a project, Brian, listen. Season 8 is reserved for you, buddy. All yours. So
I'll hold you to that. Season 8.
All right, man.
All right, so everybody watching, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and a subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Tell your friends, tell your family. We are trying to grow the channel, and we would love to have more viewers. Once again, our website is letswritethismovie.com, where you can find new pages every week. Here's what the website looks like. Just click on... I'll click on something. Here we are. Just click on any of the posts, and you will find the you will find the new script pages here in this PDF viewer. Leave your comments in the form below, or leave your comments on our channel. You can, we haven't had a lot of feedback, but you can actually affect the direction of this script. And we look forward to it.
Yes, it's Let's Write This Movie. Let us, all of us, with our lettuce.
Yes.
Write this movie.
I don't know what's happening. Homophones. Okay, Brian. Anything else before we wrap up?
That's it, man. Looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. See you then.
See ya. You know, what's funny is I don't mean to do it, and I know it's going to stay in. I'm like, damn it. As I'm doing it. No, I forgot. He puts those in.
Only occasionally. Okay, great. I worked out last week, and I don't know what happened to my neck. Like, I pushed myself really hard, and like every time I sleep now, like this side is just painful.
Dude, that's not good.
You know what the answer is, Brian?
Huh?
Don't work out. Just be fat.
That's my answer lately.
You're tall. You don't need to work out. Tall trumps everything.
And white.
Well, I didn't want to go there, but...
Why not? Why would this time be any different?
I prefer to talk about height privilege, not white privilege. I guess that's going to be the outtake. I don't know.
No. Oh.